This is a horror game podcast. It is meant for mature audiences. It may contain adult language, violence, and sexual themes, as well as shocking revelations. Viewer discretion is advised. Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where tonight my friends and I will be playing the Mothership role-playing game. I'm your host, Thom Raley. The scenario is called The Mouthless Dead. I used the procedures on the inside cover of the Warden's Manual to give me inspiration, and I am the Warden. This is a one-shot. Before we begin, I want to mention that we get most of our funding through our Patreon list, our Patreon site. Your generous support helps us to pay for our website, our club space, and everything that goes into our video production. It's your support that keeps us going, and we deeply appreciate it. So, without any further delays, let's begin our journey into the darkness. 11 light years from Earth, the light of Ross 248 shines down upon the lush green world of Ross 248d, the fourth planet in the system. It is a paradise world, and although it took some time and planning, scientists have begun to arrive in various locations to study its abundant flora and fauna. The opportunities and freedoms abound on Ross 248d, since the government has not become interested enough to interfere in scientific research. It is the year 2412. A contingency of scientists and their support personnel from Port Nineveh have found out across the landscape. In groups of two or three, they explore, indulging in whatever they please, expecting a wealth of discoveries and facing unknown dangers. Take it away, folks.
Just set us down here, I think. This looks like a good spot as any.
Yes, Dr. Ursula. Do you want me to sit down completely, or shall I hover?
Hover, please. Don't want to disrupt anything that might be microscopic or disturb any soil samples by any electromagnetic interference being put off by the ship.
You are currently hovering 2 meters above the ground.
Perfect. Okay, so let's see. If I look at our survey plan, we should be reaching the arid plains just north of the last position.
You can see outside the windows that the vegetation seems to be dropping off. And not too far, maybe 50 feet or so away, what looks like sand begins to take over. You can see in the distance rocky outcliffs and like a sea of sand. The sand is interesting because it's got a slightly bluish tint to it. It's interesting looking.
Beautiful. Minsky, have you any readings yet?
You mean in terms of sapience or sophistry? No.
Yeah, nothing.
It's sand. I mean, the sand might perhaps have some kind of collective intelligence. Would you like me to search for that?
Please do.
All right.
We have to be thorough. We're here as long as the Foundation's money holds up, so...
So
you have
green.
Have a number of...
Sorry,
go ahead.
So green, I'm surprised to see Earth poking through anywhere.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is what makes this place so exciting to study. I hope that, everyone else is so taken and captured by the forests and jungles, as they should be. There's so much new life there. But here, we have to let Elliot have something more his speed.
Northwood, and Kavanagh, you gotta remember the ground rules here. I am here to make sure you guys are okay. You need to, if I tell you to get back, or hide, or run away, we do not know what we're gonna come across.
Look, if you're referring to the incident with the arachnid last week, I had it perfectly under control. Okay. The swelling, if you look at my hand, the swelling has come down considerably.
Yes, but you weren't the one who had to put a grenade in his mouth and dive out the way. My brother died because of that.
Did he?
You don't remember Lorenzo. He has been with us for a long time.
There's so much new stuff on this world.
Lorenzo was about 1.5 centimeters taller than you, and he had a mole on his left cheek.
Exactly.
Well, we'll have a moment of silence for Lorenzo. In his memory, we will have come across no giant jungle arachnids.
But desert arachnids could be still on the bed.
Just you all. If I tell you to do something, you do it, okay? I don't want any of you guys dying on my watch because then I get the bollocking.
All right.
Man,
You
giant spiders are not in my contract.
You haven't read the fine print then, Hadley.
Mr. Cabrera, would you like me to confirm that the sand is not sapient before we set foot on it?
Minsky, it is Mrs. Cabrera.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mrs. Cabrera. Gender is sometimes a confusion point for me.
It is fine, Minsky. Can you repeat your question?
Was your
please?
brother also a female then?
No. Lorenzo was a male.
He was a male.
Yes.
Your appearance
Minsky.
is remarkably similar.
Except I am slightly more beautiful than him, and I have longer hair than him.
Ah, the hair is how you tell the female with the Cabrera lineage. I see.
Unfortunately, she's better at poker too, which
Yes, I've noticed that.
I was wondering if you could switch over to some subsurface scans. I'd like to just see if there's any tunneling or natural formations beneath the sand.
The analysis comes back to Minsky. There seems to be a great deal of sapphire in the sapphire crystals in the sand, which
Like
is
in the
giving
color.
them the bright blue color. Subsurface scans show that there are some odd, you're not sure if they're cave structures or tunnel structures, and they're in clusters. When you're looking at the subsurface scan, it almost looks like not directly next to you or under you, but maybe a few hundred meters away, like a cluster of small tunnels under the ground, all interconnected. Almost looks like a coral.
Oh,
But you can't really see. I mean,
but there's nothing projecting from above the ground level, though. Like,
well, you didn't do an above surface scan.
ah,
Or you didn't
Too
just
bad.
move the ship over there and take a look.
well, there is perhaps an indication of some kind of eusocial creature here at this tunnel cave structure. Is it insect size, or is it more like, mole or something like that?
It does in fact give you the impression of like some sort of biological underground tunneling creature. From the size of the tunnels, you'd say they're about the size of a melon.
Oh, a melon size.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, melon.
Not
Or
necessarily-
cat
not
size. Cat
Sized. Okay.
not geographically formed. I was wondering if it could be related to past volcanic activity or something like that. But maybe we could do some seismic scans before trying to collect a sample.
Dr. Kavanagh, do you want me to move the ship closer?
Dr. Kavanagh looks towards our security expert.
You'll get better scan resolution.
I if there is structures underneath, no matter what, I would suggest we stay clear. We do not know what to. I think if anything, we need to go by foot, maybe.
Do the
Oh,
underground tunnels have any kind of structural suggestion of organization, or are they just sort of haphazard?
They remind you very much of what an ant colony would
Ah,
look like if you removed it. You know, you've seen
in the
videos.
slices and farms. Yeah, okay.
Well,
And
perhaps if
there's
we can
there's
find.
numbers of them. You can see them along
Oh,
around the landscape.
okay.
So
Interesting. Is there any, in terms of the nodal arrangement of these different structures, are there any, like say between groups of 5 or 6, are there any unusually large? Or are they all the same size?
they're all roughly the same size. And analysis shows that none of them are closer to one another than, we'll say, 100 meters.
Maybe we can get a little bit closer, just a tiny bit, but I still think I don't want to risk anything.
Is it hard rock under the surface of the sand? Is it, or is it something that could be easily burrowed through? If there's no fear of sinkholes, we could just try to look for an area where there aren't any tunnels and set down.
Why don't you do a geology? You have geology, you said?
Yep, I do.
Yeah. Roll for your
Uh,
geology.
sure. Yeah, with intelligence, I take it.
Sure.
Okay, so yes,
It
that would be
adds.
a success. It'd be a out of 61 out of 68.
It seems that um, the sand itself compacts pretty well, and that within, well, let's say 5 inches down, it starts to compact hard enough to where, you would need a shovel to
Okay.
dig into it. It probably gets much harder deeper down, like sandstone.
Okay, then from your readings, Dr. Kavanagh, maybe we can get a bit closer then.
All right.
It would be,
Um,
yeah.
Mendel begins moving the ship slowly forward. You can barely feel that it's moving at all, but you can see the landscape moving by. As you approach the area, you notice a cluster of blue crystals, uh, most likely sapphire also, that form a kind of like a little cluster of crystals. And in the center of it, there's definitely a hole, and the hole goes down into the ground. But you don't see anything around. It is currently midday.
How big of a holes again?
We'll say the hole is, oh, geez, it's not for you guys. From two, here it is. We'll say about, I'd say about 8 inches or around 20 centimeters.
we have like a
So
drone or something we could put down there.
Yeah, I do have. I have a drone. It's more of a combatish drone, but
Ursula, your thoughts on this? Do you is this could you think this could be some kind of organic compound? It by all appearances it appears to be some type of sapphire, but have you any
Oh, I
experience?
mean, we would need to get a sample of it to see if there's
Get
any
under the
like
microscope.
carbon or anything that would point to I don't know, biological life or biological processes. This hole has me most intrigued though. Is it I would like to get closer to see if something has burrowed into the sand.
yeah. Um, okay, that'll be best on foot. If we are going on foot, then I need to secure the area first.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I
I
want to
can
sit down. There are samples to collect. There might be a burrowing life form. I want to get onto that sand.
I suspected that we'd see some kind of organic material around these entrances to this, whether it be offal or just scrapings of some kind of organic material off the creatures. I'm starting to think that this sapphire, these deposits are actually that. I'm wondering if there's something that's grown up with time, that maybe it's some type of thing that's left and they're growing, but it's not like how an ore or a geode would work where it's not something's up with it. It does need further investigation.
Dr. Northwood, I have found a flat place we can set down approximately 20 feet from here. So it moves away, and then you feel the ship set down. There is a slight rock to the side as it sets down, since it's not necessarily level, but it is now still on the ground.
Yeah. I have a little body cam. I'm gonna set that up for insurance reasons, you know. Got to as a security. I do have a little bio scanner because, you know, just pop it on and I'll leave and I'll scout the area around and make sure everything is
Okay.
secure.
The door opens. You can feel the temperature, the ambient temperature. Oh, it's probably around, we'll say it's around 35 degrees centigrade, or somewhere around 90 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay. Does my bioscanner pick up anything? I know we're on like a flattish land anyway, so better see, but
Your bioscanner tends to pick up something at the hole, but not necessarily right at the hole, but possibly down inside the hole. The sound of the sand underneath your feet almost has a musical quality to it, uh, as the crystals rub one another together, and you step into it. You don't sink very far, just an inch or so. It's fairly
okay.
compact.
I just shout back to just be careful, you might get a slight sinking feeling, but it's nothing. Don't go too far. It's actually about an inch.
Well, Elliot, after you.
Thank you, Ursula. Yeah, I'll step down and move off to the side off the off ramp, and I think right away I'd like to scoop up a small amount of the sand and look at it. More and more, I'm seeing the connection between this blue tint to the sand and that sound that underneath Cabrera's boots as she was walking.
Yeah,
How
definitely.
feasible is it that this sand is like is it entirely broken crystal or broken sapphire,
No,
or it's
there's
mixed with a stone?
Sorry, can I interject?
Yeah.
Stefan seems to be having some technical problems.
Oh, is he blinking off and on?
He
His
is
head is
moving.
moving
It's
everywhere.
moving.
He's currently
He's
just a
he's
floating head.
he's been teleporting around this like
He
the
he he
screen.
did put in the chat he's just
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
reset his connection.
He's doing a great
Okay.
job of a head just floating there. Looks good.
2 minutes later.
I've set up a perimeter, and Kavner was commenting on the crystals.
Yeah, I've taken a sample of the crystals and or of the sand. I'd like to take a sample of the crystals near the aperture, Eliana, if you'll permit me to do it. I'd like to go back to the ship after and just compare those.
Yes, I am keeping an eye on you. Don't not worry.
Also, Dr. Kavner, you asked for the content of the sand. It
Yes,
has
yes,
a
yeah.
high quantity of these sapphire crystals. They seem to have been broken down over time the way sand is broken down from rocks. There's also a lot of calcium carbonate and a lot of carbon uh,
Yep.
in structures like you would find on Earth, broken down seashells, although
Yeah.
obviously not seashells,
but remnants of previous life
remnants of
forms.
something else. Yeah,
Complicated patterns or
right.
yeah. I will share that information with my contemporary. I I am yeah. I think on that note, I will approach the aperture of the hole and I'll gently test one of these crystals on it, and if I can, try to take a small sample by scraping it.
Okay. Um, the crystals themselves do seem to be uh, part of the aperture. They're not just sitting there, they are part of the structure,
They've grown
almost
from
as
it.
if the
Yeah,
structure has, yeah, they've grown from it.
yeah, yeah.
Um, However, you imagine that they might be somewhat brittle.
The small kind of steel rod with the sharps, one side kind of sharpened that I'm using to do this, I'm going to turn it over and just very gently tap the edge of the sapphire with it, and I want to just hear it resonate or see what happens as I do that.
Okay. As you do that, it rings almost like a bell, and you also hear that ringing sound suddenly become dull. And when it becomes dull, you realize that a crack has formed near the base of the crystal, and that it is now, in fact, uh, probably easily levered off
Dislodge.
of it.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm gonna try to do that actually. If I can break a piece off and take it back on the ship and examine it closer.
Okay. Yes, you are able
The
to
hard
take a
snap.
piece.
Yeah.
We'll say that it's about, 12 inches or so. The crystals may be, a couple of inches thick. Uh, Looks like a quartz crystal, but it's in fact made out of this blue sapphire.
Yeah.
You are
No.
able. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think I'd like to go back to the ship. As I'm examining, I maybe have a small wrist scanner that I used on the sand previously. I'm looking to see I guess the easiest thing to do is look at the commonalities between the sapphire that I'm used to, and obviously there's probably none. It's in fact not sapphire at all, but um, what
Right.
is it?
All right. Go ahead and do a scientific roll of some sort.
Yeah, I'll do geology again, or chemistry would be the same role.
Yeah.
It is a fail on the roll.
Okay.
90.
Um, at first glance, chemically, it seems identical to
The sand.
sapphire, uh,
Two Earth Sapphire. Interesting.
to Earth sapphire, but there's definitely something weird about its crystal structure. Um, that's you can't quite you know your analysis doesn't it comes up inconclusive.
Hmm.
Oh,
Um, Ursula, I'm going to take this back on the ship and analyze it further. Uh,
Can't identify it.
no, it's has a lot in common with Earth Sapphire, but there's this quartz aspect to it, and there's complex forms. I can find it of structure of atomic structure within it that are not matching anything I have on record.
could you project the data over to my operation desk?
Yeah, absolutely.
Saying you may have discovered a new element or
Perhaps.
some new crystalline structure of some sort.
I'm
Or
looking
both.
at the structure to see if it shows any evidence of alteration by any kind of intelligence to any purpose. So it won't have its regular structure that a crystal would have. It would have like deviations that seem to to accomplish something, perhaps.
You're looking at the structure. We'll say that you go down to the your equivalent of like an electron microscope,
Mhm.
and you're looking at it. And when you zoom in to about 10,000 times magnification, you begin to notice something very strange.
Mhm.
Um, it's almost as if the atoms have been arranged
Mhm.
in such a manner that it starts to look almost like a carved um, series of symbols, like text.
Oh,
Um, and there's enough variation in them. The computer analysis shows there are approximately 170 different characters,
ah,
and they seem to be arranged in a manner that makes it look like language. Um, you're not even sure how your own civilization would be able to accomplish something like this. But there's definitely writing all over the crystal. It's just so tiny. It's almost inconceivably tiny. And of course, you have no way of knowing what it means.
right, because we don't have a key to translating it just yet.
Right.
Is this in the interior of the crystal or on the surface of the crystal?
It's on the surface of the crystal, like it's been carved into the outside of the crystal.
Uh-huh.
Oh my.
Well, this suggests at least at one point there was a very sophisticated civilization that could have done this.
Yet to have imagined something to have done this seems impossible. This is a entire desert worth of crystals.
Maybe it's
It's
some
all
kind of microscopic organism that did it.
No, this is clearly a
Could-
language that's been written here.
a lang. I mean, could you say a DNA pattern is a language of sort?
It
This
depends.
has a
It depends on what kind of theories that you want to kind of approach your, I don't know, metaphysics with. I mean, one could argue that everything is just information. DNA is information. Um, Writing is information.
DNA.
We and everything are all just information, positions of quantum particles and what have you.
DNA makes use of basically just 4 characters to accomplish what it does, which is amazing. But this is 170 characters, at least. It's more suggestive of a phonetic alphabet or possibly a syllabary
This is-
or
If you have enough characters, we could use a neural net and try to decode it.
that is
we don't have
interesting.
anything to quite compare it to, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah.
Perhaps Mendel could just begin eliminating potential
Well,
options.
if it's an alien language, there'd be no way for us to decipher it, right? Like we have no basis to go off of.
Well, we have known patterns.
And just I know I am just a marine, but and you're more sciencey than me, but from my archaeology, and I'm pretty good with like linguistics, and there are some commonalities within certain languages, and even if we do not know the alien language, we could piece together using ancient languages from Earth to compare it to certain.
So you're saying that this alien language on this alien planet is going to have some kind of similarities to the structures of, I don't know, Sanskrit? Like that doesn't make sense to me.
There are always some you can find commonalities. There's got to be some form.
The only
Well,
thing that you
Yeah.
are able to see when analyzing it at this point is that there is some sort of syntax
yeah.
to the way things are formed, but what it's saying or what the syntax means is at this point completely beyond. Even the master computer can't figure
Thing
it
is,
out without
the
some.
But what is
species-
clear is
This
there
could
is
be
intention.
math.
And we need a broader sample.
The species that create it might still be existent, which case
Where-
observation will allow us to determine the language.
Where are you all located at this point? I know that Dr. Kavner is in the ship with the sample.
I'm
It's
still outside with, I assume, Northwood, but we're obviously
Okay.
communicating through there.
Yeah, we have the radios. We're
Dr. Norwood, where are you?
I'm on the ship.
Okay, I'll
Okay.
be the only one outside then.
I'm
No,
gonna
I'd probably be outside too. I was kind of hoping to take in the environment a little.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to
So,
program the 170 characters into something the drone can project as an image, maybe. I don't know if we're gonna make use of that, but
okay. Hadley and Cabrera, you are outside near the structure, near the hole. You both begin to feel, at first, very slight, but growing now, um, vibrations in your feet, as if there's something underground.
Do you feel that?
It's not big, it's just slight, but there's definitely something vibrating under the ground.
do we have
Yes.
any do we have
Some
any
kind of
alarms going off?
vibration.
No, it's not enough to alarm you, but it's enough to
Nothing yet,
tell you
no.
that
Uh,
something might be happening.
unless there's some blocking underneath me, does the bioscanner pick up anything as I am aiming at the ground?
The bioscanner seems to, once again, towards the hole, that there is something biological down there. And the signal is getting stronger, but it
Um,
doesn't seem to be able to differentiate anything. It
okay.
could be, it could be that all of the sapphire crystal are refracting whatever signal you might be trying to pick up.
Yes. Dr. Northwood, Dr. Kavanagh, there's some slight, not alarming vibrations going on and potential biological
We need to get
something being
we
scanned.
need to get a seismograph or something onto the surface to see if these are some kind of like geological activity or biological activity. Um,
No.
so if you want to all at this point, I'm curious to see because we've got like what one sample of this crystal stuff.
Well, one of the actual
And some
crystal
sand.
and one of the sand, yeah.
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 So how abundant are the crystals?
Well, they're clustered around the hole here. You don't see any other crystals around, but you do see on your scanner that what did I say earlier, about a kilometer away? There are other holes.
100 meters.
100 meters. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
If yeah, go ahead.
It's about 300 feet, a football field away for Americans.
yeah, I want to get this equipment that's going to pick up the vibrations and bring it down to the surface.
Okay.
If we have a few pylons on board that we can submit, we can gather data from. If we put a pylon here and then we kind of get in a triangle pattern, put one down about a kilometer away one direction, and then go the other direction, we can kind
Yes.
of
Yes,
gather
Dr.
data
Kavanagh,
from across a range.
everything that you requested is on board anyway, so don't worry about it. Is
Yeah. I'll bring the pylon
company
down to you
made
now.
sure.
We
Elena, do you want to put that gun down? You're making me nervous.
I'm just scanning the area. I'm not actually
Well,
I've just got my bioscanner on my gun, okay?
I'm going to do
So you know
this
what you're
on
going to
across
kill before you shoot it. That's very useful.
the flat plane of sand that's in front of us. Like, oh, you're right. I really hope something doesn't sneak up on us.
Right.
Gentlemen, because we removed the crystal, we might have done the equivalent of accidentally sticking the doorbell down on Ring. Something
Yeah.
might be coming up.
Yeah, but Elena pointing it off into the distance with her gun's not going to stop that from happening.
No,
Minsky.
but we
I
should
do
be
keep looking
aware.
at the ground.
Also, if we do find intelligent life out here, I don't want Elena to blast its head off.
No, I agree.
It'd be
I'm not gonna blast it off.
it's no way to say
The
hello.
archaeologist inside of me and is not going to just destroy something.
Dr. Northwood, do you think we're in a position to perform proper first contact protocols the way we're spread out like this?
Look, I mean, we had better well be prepared to do I mean, I don't know. Mendel, has humanity encountered any other intelligent life?
There is no intelligent life on uh,
In the raw system?
this in the Ross system that we
I
know
just
of.
mean elsewhere, anywhere else.
No, I'll say no.
So this is a really big fucking deal then.
Yeah.
We haven't spread out far enough. 11 light years is a long way, and they've just sort of discovered this planet a few years ago. So we haven't gotten
So
very
actually,
far.
whatever you do, don't break that fucking crystal. This might be the first that we could all have it made. This could be it. The first humans to encounter intelligent extraterrestrial life.
As
Or
long
we
as
could
we-
be swallowed
yes.
by a sinkhole.
And I don't want another fly incident again, Dr. Northwood.
The flies, okay, listen, the flies were very compelling, all right? I mean, that color spectrum that they produced out of their abdomens, I mean, it was spectacular.
This planet is remarkable for enticing humans into danger.
Mendel 539 responds. He says, seismic vibration complete, and it projects a 3D image of the area. And you can see, from what look like seismic ripples coming away like this, that whatever it is coming from directly below the hole, and it is increasing in vibration. Eliana and Lewis, you can now hear a sort of hissing noise, which you assume, well, you don't have to assume, it's probably the sand around you vibrating and rubbing against itself that's causing this hissing noise. But you now are quite sure that this vibration is increasing.
Okay.
I think we ought to move a little further away.
Yeah, let's view this from a distance.
Hang on 2 seconds. I'll put my gun on. I'm just gonna do a flashlight down the hole because obviously we can't see.
Oh no. The Foundation's paid enough Cabrera bereavement fees so far. That's
all right.
The flies, the spiders.
I'm doing it carefully because I'm just treating it like I would looking down any suspicious hole.
Eliana, you approach the hole and you shine your light down it. And just as you are getting there, the vibration does increase. You can feel it increase quite a bit. And as you look down the hole, something comes out of the hole. Some sort of animal. It looks like it's about the size of a guinea pig. It has a hard, chitinous sort of shell on its body that kind of refracts the light. You can see dark grays and purples and rainbow colors as it comes out. It has formidable mandibles on the front of it, like almost beetle-like with these large pronged grabbers. It has multiple eyes on its head. Maybe just at a glance, you'd say 5 arranged symmetrically. And it's crawling on small legs close to the ground as it does this. It comes out, followed by 2 or 3 more of them. They see you.
I carefully step back. I've not pulled out my gun or anything. I'm just slowly stepping back and turning off the light.
They see you, but they don't immediately move in your direction. Instead, 2 of them sort of circle around the hole and climb up onto part of the crystals and immediately seem to be alarmed that a large chunk of the crystal is missing.
Dr. Carver.
They become visibly agitated.
Dr. Carver, perhaps we should return the sample. We have pictures.
Yeah, Dr. Kavanaugh, return the sample, please.
Wait.
Mendel's running a scan.
I'm creeping up on them slowly.
We are clearly producing stress. This is not This is not very good for a first contact situation.
Northwood, do not get too close. We do not know what
It's
if they
fine.
emit
It's
anything.
fine.
If you touch
It's
them, we don't know if they're poisonous.
I'm just gonna take one of them.
No, I do not recommend that. That would be the equivalent of kidnapping.
Northwood, stop.
That
Are you fully gloved?
Okay. We are looking at possibly a war crime if this is a sapient species, gentlemen. You do not kidnap their young or any other individuals of this group or tribe or sodality.
They look
Dr.
like bugs
Carvener,
to
we need
me,
to return
but-
the crystal. They are clearly agitated by its absence.
Dr. Kavner, return the crystal
The
just to
crystal
see
is
their
of
reaction.
significance. Okay, fair. For in the interest of scientific study, I can concede to that.
Dr. Northwood, do not grab one yet.
But I got my gloves on now.
That would create an incident, sir.
Kavner will walk down the ramp with the crystal and slowly unwrap it from the cloth he's kind of packed it in, and tentatively step onto the sand and hold it out and put it on the sand about the halfway point between him and them, and then step back from it.
Okay.
How do we know if they're intelligent or not? Like sapient.
We'll find
We
out.
might be about to
Hadley.
find out. Yeah,
Well, we don't know if these are what did the writing.
yeah.
So, Dr. Northwood, you're near with your gloves. When you get within, I'd say 5 feet of one of these things, it turns and faces you, and it puts on a kind of a threat display. Its mandibles flash out like this, and you can see that they catch, the light and sort of create little spectrums of light as they do this, and it hisses at you, and then it quickly turns around and uses its legs to kick sand in your area like it's trying to shoo you away. But its back is to you. There are probably 5 or 6 more that seem distressed that are running about.
I
Dr.
want
Northwood.
I'll grab it.
Dr. Northwood,
That is contraindicated, Dr. Northwood.
I actually pull out my gun and point it at Northwood.
You may be kidnapping a member of the family unit. They will become extremely distressed.
Cabrera, stand down.
No,
Dr. Northwood is a credited member of the Foundation science
Yes.
team. That is a
But-
treasonous act by.
No,
If this
Kavner.
group turns out to be sapient, he will be committing a crime.
What
Kavner,
if they're just bugs? Can we take one
They're
home
animals.
then?
can
We
we
do not
just
know
wait
if
to
they're
see
just
how
bugs
they
just yet.
react?
Well, we have to figure that out.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't do it by
Minty?
taking one of them, though. That is, there are so many other ways we can explore this without stealing
Again,
or
we
kidnapping
don't know
one.
that these are what made the
Just-
writing. We don't know what they are. I'm not going to dissect the poor bastard.
You're going to subject it to unnatural stresses it may not be able to deal with. It may go mad or die.
Dr. Northwood, we know what happened last time with the spiders when you took one of its young and the giant spider came out after us. We
Look,
do not-
it had
Oh.
multiple egg sacs. I don't know why I was protective of that one. It had plenty of others. Just
Dr. Northwood, I'm aware
we
that you do
come, we
not have...
came all this way, and we're gonna put the crystal back, and we're gonna not pick up the like. What are we doing here? This is what we came out
Dr.
here to do.
Northwood, I understand that you have no children of your own, and therefore possibly you lack what is considered maternal instincts. But nonetheless, one must bear in mind that this will be causing stress to what is possibly a sapient creature.
So, Dr. Northwood, are you going to proceed or?
I'm picking it up.
Okay, so
Dr. Northwood,
well, let's let it. He's got to be able to act. You
Yeah.
guys can't have all
Oh.
this conversation
Yeah.
now.
oh yeah,
So,
yeah.
in front of you is this, roly-poly looking sort of thing with armor all over it. It's flipping dirt in your face as you come up to it. And you're not entirely sure it can't see you because its eyes on the top of its head. But the shell over its back, I mean, think of like a pill bug or roly-poly, kind of like that, or an armadillo. You reach down and you can hook your fingers under the edge of its shell and just lift it off the ground. And when you do, it's no longer able to kick dirt in your face. But its little back legs are flipping like it's trying to. It seems to be able to curl up a little bit so the shell gets rounder and your fingers are here, but it's not able to turn its head. Well, it can turn its head a little, but it can't get to where your fingers are. So you've got it in your hands. You can see that it's got 30 or so little small legs underneath it. And it's now hissing, and it's got its mouth opening and closing at you. The other ones don't seem to be distressed that anything is happening to their comrade. They are still running around. They're aware of you and wary. If you get any closer to the others, they'll probably turn around and kick sand at you too. But the one in your hand is pretty much in your control at this point, even though it's struggling.
We can.
Elliot, will you bring down a Class B specimen container, please?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to put the crystal here. We can get more crystal samples. I want to observe what they do, but yeah,
You are not taking that on the ship.
they're in the inside.
Eliana, we came all this way. We're here to catalog the life that we find.
Yes, but you can
I
do
have
manual.
found life. I would like to catalog it, please.
You could do manual scans out here. You do not need to take it on the ship. We do not know what its biology contains. We don't know if it has
I
any
can discover. I
residue.
can figure all that out with the equipment that I have on the ship. When I'm done, I'll put it back. I'm not taking it home.
Can you just before we take it on do a scan out here?
Let me
Dr.
put
Northwood,
it. Let me
like
put it
normal.
in. Let me put it in the container, and then we can scan it.
Just hold it still there for a second. I'm just going to take a sample off its what appears to be its mouth, its mandibles there.
Oh, so you got to take samples from it, and I'm going to get fucking shot
Right,
here.
Dr. Kavner.
Sorry.
No, scans first to determine any of its biology or whatever.
So, Mother, have the other creatures noticed that Dr. Kavner returned the stone yet? Have they taken an interest in it? Since he did
They
put it
haven't
down?
left. They haven't left more than a few inches from the hole itself. So they're still around it. Dr. Kavner, you were actually, 20 or 30 feet away, or 20 feet away. No, they haven't noticed that the crystal is lying in the sand.
Well, since they didn't attack Dr. Northwood after he kidnapped one of their own, Dr. Kavner, I will go and place the crystal near the entrance to see if they do any kind of repair work. Is that acceptable?
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to help Ursula with this. Yeah, go ahead. You can put it in there.
All right. I'll put it near where it should be, since their sort of search pattern, and see if they put it back together or what they do with it.
It's bad for these aliens in a way. These alien apes just show up and like steal their Declaration of Independence, and then a couple minutes later steal one of their soldiers and puts them in a jar. Then they show back up and they just put the Declaration of Independence back, and they're like, "Hey, no harm done, right? No harm, no foul." Let's hope they aren't intelligent, because if they are, they're going to be pretty pissed.
That's what I'm worried about.
Look at the jagged edge on the inner side of the mandible there. It's clearly meant for digging, but there's more purpose to these things than that.
Now, you're able to look at it close up because Dr. Northwood has it in his hand, but it is reacting to you in a very highly defensive way. If you get your fingers in there, it will try to tear off your fingers, and you think that it could with those mandibles. I was going to say, if this were the Earth and you were to take a stick and stick it in there, it would probably snap through the stick. So it's like a crab, like a vicious thing. It's pretty pissed off. Minsky, when you take the stone over, the crystal over, and you lay it in the sand, at first nothing happens, but one of them comes over to it and encounters it, and it suddenly becomes, it stops in its tracks.
Mhm.
You you detect at that point that something in the air has changed around you.
Has some kind of pheromone or chemical been released?
Yeah, definitely some sort of pheromone or chemical has suddenly been released in the air. Those of you who are standing nearby, you smell an odd smell. It almost smells like rosemary, the herb. It's got a strong, not unpleasant smell, but definitely it's suddenly is wafting around you. The other creatures,
Mhm.
uh, they immediately run over to where the crystal is as well. And they run up to it, and you can see their little feelers are suddenly like running over the surface of it very quickly. Um, and then they stop doing that, and they very slowly back away from the crystal and then start moving back towards the hole.
They see it as being contaminated, perhaps.
Either
Did we
this
broke
or
it, did we? Did we
yeah,
damage it?
it cracked, I'm afraid, and then I was able to snap it off the base. Oh, that
Right.
little fucker keeps moving. Yeah, I
Yes,
I
the
don't
one in
think
your
these
hand
are.
seems quite upset. The one that you've put it now in a container, Dr. Northwood.
Yes, I put it in a
Yeah.
Class B specimen container.
Mm,
It it is it looks, I mean, you're anthropomorphizing onto it, but for a moment it looks confused. It moves around, it touches the walls of the glass, it tests them, and then it tries to bite at the glass, testing its strength, if you will. But it's smooth on the inside, so it's not able to gain purchase.
mm.
And but it does seem distressed.
Would it be beneficial to pour some of the sand inside with it?
Do you want to try
Uh,
that?
yeah, I don't see why that how that would hurt.
Yeah.
Let's see what
You
happens
pour
if
the
we
sand
scoop a.
in, it has no reaction.
Yeah.
Uh, it seems like a trapped animal. It's confused, and it's almost like it doesn't understand what the glass is because it's never seen a
Oh,
crystal clear barrier like this before.
Mm. Dr.
Um,
Northwood, can you just do your scans, please?
pull out my bioscanner, staring Eliana right in the eyes.
I
you
am
get
no
a
longer pointing a gun at you. I am.
you get a very interesting scan of its biology, a complete map of its internal workings. It's nothing like a biological life form from Earth. Um, seems to have multiple digestion tracts. Um, your guess from the way its biology looks is it's definitely a meat eater. If that, it's definitely designed to tear apart its food with those mandibles. You're guessing also that it probably has um, some sort of hierarchy. You're not sure why the viciousness of the mandibles and the teeth and all of that. Perhaps defense, perhaps
Part of a soldier
male
class, maybe?
dominance.
Yeah.
Yeah. You do definitely see, I don't know what it's called in science. Is it dimorphism?
Oh,
Dimorphism is
yeah.
when the male and the female look different. In this
Yep.
case, you're thinking of, multimorphism. As Dr. Kavner said, it might in fact be part of a caste system. Um, you're also able to identify that a large portion of its biology is composed of something like sapphire,
Yeah, that's what
and
I was wondering.
that a good portion of whatever the other components in the sand are
Or
probably
matching.
from this animal's carapace. Like maybe when it dies and breaks down, it eventually becomes like the sand.
That chitinous shell, that if it has these connections and in its most basic forms to these crystals, to the sand, Is it safe to venture that this entire desert was once a writhing sea of these things?
Definitely that.
I mean, these things seem to be living and dying here for the last several million years. I mean,
Dr. Northwood, you're clear to take it on board.
thank you. I will take it on board.
Who now is on board and who is still outside?
I am now on board with the specimen.
Yeah,
I'm
I think I'm
still
following.
outside.
Have they done anything else with their scurrying around the hole?
Well,
Have they tried to repair it?
Once they sort of looked at the crystal and then left it, they sort of almost sulkingly went back into their hole.
Yeah, because we've just broken their mailbox or whatever we did. So
No,
they're not
no,
happy.
it's more than a mailbox. It might literally be some form of them at a different stage of its evolution or of its lifespan even.
Is anyone still outside?
Yeah, I'm still outside. I'm
Right.
Yeah,
still outside.
and I'm standing on the
I'm-
ramp going into the ship maybe.
I'm also probably still outside.
Think of these things maybe something like a moth or a caterpillar on Earth that goes through a metamorphic change at some point in its lifespan. Perhaps that sapphire form is merely it at a different stage, perhaps, or perhaps it's its deceased ancestors of some form. But I gather that what we've done, this pheromone that you're experiencing, may be more to do with sadness or disappointment, perhaps, than
It seemed more
Maybe
like it
it's-
was an effort to organize activity to analyze the thing.
Maybe it's their historical record. They're like little tribes and their entire
that
history
could
is
explain the
written in
writing.
those things.
That could explain the tiny writing there.
The creature in the specimen jar, it suddenly stops moving. It's not dead. It stops moving almost purposefully. And you can see that the coloration of its shell seems to be changing. It's turning a brighter blue on the inside. And you can see that these sort of chitinous scales of its back, they begin to sort of unfold. And as they unfold, these spikes sort of lift up out from beneath the shell. The creature is transforming into a kind of, well, I mean, it almost looks like a mini rhinoceros. It's getting multiple spikes coming out of the front end of it. And it's gone from looking like an insect to a vicious insect to a really vicious insect, something you would not want to get your fingers down there.
It's capable
Dr.
to,
Northwood, I think we need to transfer to specimen container C level precaution.
it's obviously capable of transforming its biology to fight. Can I try? I don't think it's going to have any effect on it in this state because it's getting ready to break out. I'm going to try projecting those symbols that I programmed into the drone into the cage and see if that attracts its attention at all.
Doesn't seem to.
No.
I warned you, Dr. Northwood. This is what happens every time.
You should probably
Well,
let the thing go.
It's perfectly safe. I mean,
Eliana.
if it's strong enough to break through this container, I would be shocked.
I would.
Eliana
Specimen
and-
containers are well reinforced.
Eliana and Lewis outside, you suddenly hear a noise. And
kind of
it
noise?
it's a kind of a droning sort of noise. It's low pitched, it vibrates the air. You can feel the ground vibrating again, but much more this time.
I think
God.
they're sending
Might
out
be-
their troops now.
Might be
Hey,
time to
everyone.
take stress.
There's some kind of noise outside.
Miss Cabrera, we should probably let the specimen go and retreat before we get into an altercation with this species.
Dr. Northwood, you need to let the Specimen, go.
Before you can, um, a rush of almost dust comes up out of the hole, and the creatures begin to appear again. They no longer look like they did before. These seem to have spikes and armor all over them, and they are flooding out the hole.
Into the ship.
Right, Lewis, back up, back up. I do have
Oh,
my
hey.
combat drone on.
Do you think they're upset?
standby.
Let the creature go before they morphize anymore. They may
Dr.
actually pursue
Northwood,
us.
let it go.
We can just fly away.
Dr. Northwood, let it
It's possible
go.
if this is a sapient creature, they may continue to morph and pursue us. I think it'd be very insane to push them that far.
Let's discuss this from the air.
We should let it go before something else happens.
Within a few moments, almost before you can make any of these decisions, hundreds of these things have come up out of the hole, but they don't seem to be interested in you. They are not coming after Eliana or Hadley, who are still outside the ship backing up towards it. They seem to be forming almost ranks in the sand, and they're all facing somewhat away from you. And as they get out of the hole, they suddenly start to move rather quickly in a particular direction. But
are they going towards one of the other
you.
colonies?
They're definitely going. I mean, you can go in any direction. You'll be up going towards another colony. But in fact, yes, they are. They seem to be heading somewhere else.
Either they think they're blaming the sabotage on their neighbors, or they're going there to get resources to fix what we've damaged. We're going to end up creating wars here if we don't slow down our efforts. Dr. Northwood, would you like to be responsible for unnecessary deaths?
This is preposterous.
I already know the answer because Dr. Northwood does this all the time.
Still, we're seeing behavior that could exist within any given ecosphere. Is that it's in any situation with life, there could be devastation or things happening. So let's observe what happens. Let's see where this leads.
We've created a situation that is going to lead to interspecies conflict.
I think
that didn't need to exist in the first place.
I think you're crediting them with a bit much intelligence.
We don't know that they're not intelligent.
For all I know, I just picked up an ant.
We have
even so. Then the colony itself is an intelligent organism, and you grab part of it.
But we have everything on camera as well. We don't know that we're the cause of this new behavior. It could just have been something that was going to happen anyway.
Just because the behavior is not recognized as the human does not mean it is not intelligent.
So we should do what? Nothing? We should just pack up and leave? Minsky?
Right.
We've put too much time in. We should observe. We should hover at our 10 feet above the surface.
Right.
Let me make complete and thorough scans of this specimen.
Northwood, do what you need to do, but do it very quickly. Kavanagh, my combat drone is keeping an eye. We can monitor it. It's always recording anyway.
He's already put it in a jar. Just let him keep it.
No.
What's this phalanx of the little critters doing? Is it marching at quite speed to the next colony?
It definitely looks like it's heading towards another colony. But Minsky, you begin to notice something very odd. A group of these creatures that are not metamorphosed into the warrior class.
Mm-hmm.
They seem to have picked up the crystal. And you're not sure what they're doing at first, but the reason why you notice this is because the ones that have picked up the crystal are all walking, they're holding it in the center and they're walking around it so that it keeps spinning. Almost like, well, I mean, it's weird. You're not really sure.
Maybe this is how they read it.
but as they are spinning and they are also moving much slower towards wherever they're going,
Mhm.
um, there is this weird droning noise coming from
Okay,
them.
I'm going to be recording this for
This
analysis later.
this has the makings of a funerary march. I stand by my previous opinion that we're witnessing some level of cultural instinct from them, but it's no different. When I was a child on Alpha 4, I had an ant colony, but my parents were never able to capture the queen ant. So with just the ants without the queen, they still picked up and entombed their dead, and it's it's a learned behavior mechanism, but it still doesn't necessarily tell us this is a higher life form by any means. This could still be animal. It's
These could be ants that are the crystals
yeah.
are some long dead or long past or some other alien scientists came here and they picked up some ants and they left these crystals behind.
It's true, but
That
we are
doesn't
not
really
taking it back
fit
with
the
us.
gestalt of the situation.
You,
Where are the little mummer, droner, funeral priests? Where are they going with the crystal right now?
They're going along with all the others, just not at the same speed. Um, you can do a sophronology
Yes, I
roll.
will. Does it look like maybe they're going to complain about, hey, why did you guys break our crystal? What's going on? Okay, let's try to make a roll here. Uh, Here we go. Sophronology is plus 20 to intellect 69. I didn't fumble, but I'm still confused. So I failed.
Yeah, you don't have enough data,
I'm going
but
to follow then. I'm just going to walk at a comfortable distance behind them and just
oh,
see
you're
what
going to
they do.
walk.
no.
Yeah, I mean, if they're not bothered by my presence, I'm not going to move in an aggressive fashion. I'm just going to
Okay.
sort of watch what they do.
I, I
Um,
I I think this is actually our opportunity to examine the home that they've just left. They've abandoned this tunnel system here. This
If
could give us the chance to harvest the other crystals from it.
if I could slap my forehead in consternation, I would. I think I just did.
I,
Do realize that you're taking advantage of their attempt to deal with their problems by creating more problems for them?
I think that is not my theory. My theory is that they have abandoned this dwelling.
No,
They have
you're making a huge assumption, Dr. Carvener. I really
no,
hope that if a higher, more evolved species ever shows up in our worlds, they do not treat us the same way we're treating these creatures, because I would be aghast.
I,
Dr. Kavner, looking back, um, they definitely left guards at the
oh,
entrance to
okay.
the hole. Um, so not all of them are going. Um, so what you begin to notice is definitely it's almost you said a funeral procession. Uh, Maybe not a funeral, but definitely some sort of religious.
Hmm.
Oh, wow.
It looks like their actions and reactions and the droning just very much feels like a procession of some sort.
Hmm.
Um, and it seems to antagonize the warriors. They are they are flashing their
Mhm.
anger. If you could pick up anger,
Yeah, so
definitely
Yeah.
that
the
smell in the
priests are
air.
getting them to
Yeah.
psych to attack their neighbors.
Is it likely that any of us have taken stress at this point? Would we be
I don't think so necessarily.
no? Okay.
You're fascinated. Maybe Doctor Northwood and Cabrera are taking stress because they're yelling at each other.
Waving a gun around.
I'm sorry, this doesn't feel mutual. Like one of the two of us is pointing a gun
The other had a
I,
specimen container.
at the other one.
I'm no longer
I'm just
playing the
doing my
game.
job.
Yeah,
The other one is
I'm
threatening
doing,
to injure
no,
me
no, I'm doing my job of protecting you from
by
potential
pointing a
dangerous
gun
things.
at me. That's protecting me. That makes me
Yeah, well, I was
feel
going to
very
knock you
safe
out,
when you
if
do that.
anything.
Oh, you were just gonna,
Yeah,
so you're gonna, in the name of protecting me, you were going to bash my head in.
Hey,
he's trying to protect you from yourself.
and then drag you back
Uh,
in and worry about that later.
The creature in the specimen jar is oddly acting very much like the warriors on the plain, and it is facing in the direction that they are going. But it can't seem to do anything. Maybe oddly enough, the sand in the container that was added is kicked over to one side because its little feet are trying to move.
Yeah. Now it's on the ship. It can't actually see them moving. So
correct.
how does it know which way they're moving?
Well, it's a good thing I have it in my shipboard biological scanner so we can see its neurological activity.
Yeah, it is.
Because imagine if we had just not had this, so then we would be in complete bewilderment at their behavior.
Maybe they communicate by scent. We smelled that
Well,
that
pheromones
smell of rosemary.
is very short range, unfortunately. It would appear, I would suggest some kind of sonic or possibly electromagnetic activity, but there's a sound that's being propagated.
Sound is short range too, isn't it?
No, subsonics can go quite a distance. If you were to totally shield the container from sound, perhaps the creature would stop orienting itself, and that would be a way to tell. Subsonic vibrations can travel for kilometers.
So as they are traveling en masse, and it definitely comes across as an army, not unlike army ants. You can see not too far in the distance, there is another cluster of blue crystals, and a hole. As they move forward, their vibrations in the ground must be giving notice to the other nest.
Okay.
And when they are still about 30 feet away from it, you suddenly see a couple of what look like the original ones that you saw. They come up out of the hole. They have slightly different coloration on them. They're more kind of golden yellow, though the crystals are still the blue ones. They suddenly become alarmed, and you see them immediately turn and go back down into their hole. And when the creatures get within inches of the hole, a few of them plunge down into the tunnel, but then are immediately pushed back out, and a second army begins to flood out, and they begin tearing each other to shreds.
Oh boy.
It is an all-out
I start
battle.
very coldly taking notes.
Brutal.
And my combat drone is recording this.
Dr. Northwood, I'm not sure that this is within the remit of our studies.
Do you ever read Walden by Henry David Thoreau?
I must admit the old Earth lit hasn't really excited me for some time.
There's a whole chapter in it where he describes watching two ant colonies battle each other.
I think these, as much as I hate to agree with the others, I'm beginning to believe these are a lot more capable than ants.
Dr. Northwood, just take your samples from the living specimen and then let it go.
Oh, so it can go die in the battle like a hero?
I would like some clarification on where each of you are. I think that Minsky said that he was walking.
I'm watching the battle from a safe distance, but I'm actually out there looking at it.
I'm out, but I'm probably closer to the ramp going up rather than.
Well, the ship. You guys said the ship was now closed, and you picked up and you're moving. So
we're moving. Oh, I'm still on the ground then.
Right.
Is the ship leaving?
No, the ship.
No,
we're following behind you.
We're observing what's going on just from the air.
All right.
Yeah.
Lewis, what's your thoughts on this?
On where I'm going to be, or where
you are, and on our course of action here.
Yeah, I think I'm probably not far from Minsky, just watching the action.
Oh, so you're on the
also out.
Yeah, outside.
The scientists are on the ship, safe and sound, and everybody else is.
Yeah, but we have comms, so you could ask the question.
Mendel is piloting us not far from from them.
I don't know.
right.
I'm wondering
weird.
if they're going to slaughter the other group or if they're going to have some kind of diplomatic negotiations.
Sounds like they're already slaughtering each other.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
this doesn't look like diplomacy to me, Minsky.
no, I mean it. Yeah.
Mendel, could I ask you to continue our seismic scanning? I'd like to expand it over a greater area. In particular, I'd like to gauge and watch to see any other apertures or tunnels to see if there's any other activity going on further down across the plane. We
Uh, yes, of course, Dr. Kavner. It would appear from my scans that there are at least 100 such colonies, all spaced far, almost identical direct spacing from one another. But there doesn't seem to be any activity from any of the others, at least not above surface.
Minsky, down on the ground, do you see any signs of leadership or oops, sorry.
Sorry, guys. I just had to pop out for a
Yep,
second.
no worries. I'll ask Cabrera and Lewis instead.
Let's
Or
wait for
just
1
wait.
second then.
Okay, yeah.
You can. We're going to go a few minutes over. I actually no longer have a timer going, so I have no idea how long we've played. I know we were past 1 hour, so
yeah, I know we must be.
we'll see.
Yeah, we started it a little late, so I think we are currently about an hour and a half in, I think.
We've also had a couple of
That's true.
breaks. Stefan, perfect. That's exactly what was in my head.
What did I say?
That creature that you posted
In the
Oh,
chat.
the
isopod.
isopod.
Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
Yeah. Yeah, they're weird.
Something very much like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like a deep sea isopod. They can get big.
Yeah. There's those memes going around of all those crab things. Have you seen? Oh, there's these. It's
I mean,
like
crab things.
I don't know what they are, but it's like someone's like, "Oh, look at this absolutely normal photo," and then there's people commenting like, "What are those? What? There's nothing wrong with it. What are them?" And it's like these giant like
coconut crabs.
yeah.
Yeah, they are a little terrifying
big.
looking sometimes. Yeah. If you don't like creepy crawly things, I can see how they could give you the heebie-jeebies.
It's just a funny
The
little meme.
largest, I think the largest crustacean is like the sea spider, which isn't really a spider, it's a crab, but they can be huge, like 7 or 8 feet across.
Jesus.
But they don't taste good, so nobody eats them.
They've still probably taken out a few Cabreras in their time.
Honestly, what hasn't?
Yeah.
Snails probably have killed a few Cabreras.
Since the start of this mission, how many Cabreras have we lost?
Well, I just like it when Eliana is just like, I want to keep you safe, and then I make this throwaway joke about getting bit by a spider, and then Eliana's like, well, my brother died in that spider attack. Well, no, I'm just a massive asshole for just like, the spider thing was no big deal. My brother died fighting that spider. Like
that looks like a king crab.
Oh
king
gosh.
crab legs.
I play into your anecdotes.
Look at that thing.
Like one of my favorite moments in the movie Land of the Lost is when they're laying on the beach and the giant crab is running towards them, and they all are like, and it breaks through and falls into a hot spring and boils itself. And the next thing is they've all got giant crab
legs
they're eating.
It's hard to believe that that's real, but
yeah,
I know they're so weird. There's some weird stuff under the deep sea.
Well, nobody's found one yet, but there's got to be a giant octopus. I mean, bigger than anything they've ever seen, or giant squid. The statistic that I knew is, that sperm whales eat giant squids. And when sperm whales eat giant squids, the squids often grab a hold of them, and their suckers leave marks on the thing, little scar marks. So the largest squid that they've ever found, a 50-foot squid, had suckers that were about 4 inches across, which are pretty big. But they have found sperm whales with sucker mark scars that are 18 inches across.
Yikes.
Okay.
Which would make a 300-foot squid.
Ah, scary.
And
Yeah.
we don't know what's in the deep ocean as well.
No. It does seem that larger things can live in the deep water under pressure.
And we cannot. So
We cannot.
A deep sea angler fish. Those really nightmarish looking things with the little lure that hangs in front of the jaws. Yeah. You'd think that they would just be these little hand-sized things, but no, they're actually like 5 feet in diameter.
Yeah, they're big.
Yeah.
But the real question is, where's the white whale?
What?
That is a great
So what
question.
did I miss, guys?
Nothing. No, we waited.
No, we stopped.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, what was the question?
I was going to ask Minsky if you've seen any signs of leadership or any type of further distinctions between the casts.
They're not using tools.
We've seen at least 4 distinct casts. We've seen kind of a neutral cast that shows up to just generally do stuff. Maybe it's a worker cast. We've seen a warrior cast, but we've seen that the workers turn into the warriors, which suggests that the casts can switch as needs occur. I might have seen a leader cast or a scout cast show up. They were golden color. And there's a priestly cast, which seems to be the emotional social motivators. There's probably other casts. If we did observation within their structures, we could probably see what other casts there are. There's probably a cast we could attempt to open communications with. They might have some kind of leadership or intelligence cast that might be actually the one you captured might do it if you provide the appropriate environmental conditions.
The appropriate stimulus to
yes, they're stimulated to turn from a worker into a warrior very, very quickly. I suggest Dr. Northwood, perhaps if you want to humor me, see if you can find some way to provoke it to be thoughtful.
It seems pretty angry right now.
Yes, of course. And I don't think I would.
What do you mean, of course? It's trying to march off into that battle when it's like 20 feet up in the air.
Senses.
Yes, but you can't underrate how important these things are to these creatures, because your own species would do something similar under similar circumstances.
So far, we have failed to communicate with it directly through is there any way we can pass information?
They've rejected the stone that we brought back. Perhaps bring that to the cage and see what the thing will do with it.
No, they're carrying the stone.
They carried it.
Oh, they're carrying it. That's right. You're right. It's part of their grievance.
Yeah.
It's their grievance package. Yes.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, now as you are watching, as the assault is going on, a number of Hive 1 has managed to at least overrun the area near the secondary entrance, and they seem to be desecrating the crystals of that particular hole.
All right.
They are managing to fracture them and break them off.
Why did they decide to blame this hive? I wonder, maybe they had an antagonism against them to begin with, and they just needed an excuse.
The bodies of these things are now strewn around as the battle rages on.
Yeah, I'd like one of those. Could you recover a specimen, please, of one of the deceased of both species, please, if possible?
Yes, gather as many specimens as you can.
Why don't we, doctors? Why don't we wait to see what the post-war activity is? They might gather their dead, and that would definitely suggest more intelligence.
You're not going to miss one or two if you get one specimen from each of the groups.
as a start.
I want to see if they differ. They have notable differences
we started
between the
a
different
tribal
groups.
conflict by taking a rock. I hesitate to suggest what might happen if we start taking more bodies.
Can we just wait until it is over before we start taking anything?
Yes.
This may be the ideal time. If for all we know, waiting could lead to a further transformation. They could go full crystal. At this point, we can still access the body as it appears now.
Yeah,
doctors, my career is irrelevant to me as I'm an android, but I am concerned that you might get a black mark on your careers if we're not careful here.
I think I'll take that risk. If you could please collect a sample from the dead from each of the colonies, or if you could even get a live one from the other colony so I could compare it to this live sample. That would be great.
Minsky, Hadley, do not listen to the doctors. Remember, I have to write the report for all of us for the higher-ups. And technically, I am in charge of this operation while I'm here. I represent. So do not listen to the doctors at this
Miss Cabrera, we have a charter, Miss Cabrera. We have a right to be here and a right to fulfill this research.
Kavanagh and Northwood, you have a live specimen that I've left with you. Do whatever you want with it, but just let this conflict take.
Eliana, your combat training, you begin to notice rather sophisticated patterns in the attack methods of the creatures. They are breaking off into small contingencies. They are outflanking their enemies. They are intelligently fighting one another, but both sides are doing this. So there is definitely some sort of
higher intelligence.
Yeah, unless it's all instinct, you don't know, but it's kind of remarkable to watch.
Is there any effort to rescue wounded or pull them behind lines or do anything like that? Okay.
Minsky, they don't seem to have any caring for the dead.
This is interesting. It's very tactical, very intelligently minded. That's why we need to see it play out.
I think I saw something that looked like a feint maneuver, which does imply that they understand deception.
Yes.
Which would suggest an interiority.
Which is why we just need to let this play out and not disturb the conflict at this moment in time.
If we had enough samples and a way to gather enough of them, we could possibly stage a number of these battles within secure facilities to witness and watch.
Dr. Kavanagh, I cannot believe you're making such a suggestion.
Dr. Kavanagh, the part of this operation here is to just catalog.
It is my understanding that academies and universities still have an ethical component to their training. Have I perhaps been mistaken?
We are just cataloging the fauna, flora, everything, but we are not taking anything.
Hey, Mendel?
Yes, Dr. Northwood.
Could you just take us to the edge of the battle zone and lower us down, please?
Mendel, this is override code, Eliana, bloody blah, Cabrera, whatever. Do not listen to Dr. Northwood or Dr. Kavanagh's request. All orders come from me. Thank you, Mendel.
Mendel, I believe the scientists are in charge of this scientific expedition.
Doctors, if we're not careful, we may lead to a genocide or something like that happening. Who knows how this could spill out?
Can we all just get on the same team here?
Lady, gentlemen, the charter for Nova Life Research Group says that the doctors are in charge.
Oh, shit.
But before anything happens, Dr. Northwood and Dr. Kavanagh, you begin to notice something. At first, you think you have that feeling like you're dizzy, but you're not dizzy. And then you realize that the floor inside the ship is slanted slightly to the side, like something is wrong with the gravity, at which point you begin to notice the ship is wobbling kind of in a gentle around and around. It's not spinning, but something is fucking with the gravity.
Mendel, get us out of here.
Recalibrate thrusters, recalibrate operational
Get
systems.
some elevation. Get us reverse out of here.
At that same time, before Mendel acts, Eliana and Minsky and Lewis, you glance back towards the ship, and while the battle is raging all around you, and you seem to believe that the creatures weren't paying any attention to your presence, there does seem to be a good portion of them that are in the shadow of the ship directly underneath. And some of them are piled on top of each other's backs. And they are piled up high enough in spots to where you can see they're actually doing something to the gravity exhaust ports of the ship. You can see the ship is wobbling.
Interesting.
They may be tearing at or damaging the gravity drive.
They probably want to rescue their remaining member.
I think that is the case, Minsky.
Also, it's possible this entire fight has been a feint to distract us. I do
Mendel
suggest.
reports, oh, go ahead.
I do suggest you release the prisoner, as it were, and then perhaps they will let you go.
Mendel reports to the other the scientist. He says there seems to be a fluctuation in the gravity drive. I'm attempting to compensate, and you feel the ship jerk as it seems to be trying to compensate. I'm detecting a 30% drop. Attempting to compensate, and once again it fluctuates a little.
Just go higher. Just get us up. Just get us away.
Increasing thrust. The ship. You can feel the ship lift, which you don't usually feel it when it moves, but you can definitely feel it's lifting. Those of you who are outside, you see the ship lifting up a little higher. It's maybe at 15 or 20 feet. The piles of creatures underneath have fallen down as if they were piled
Are they
up.
a different color?
No, they're the ones that you guys were originally with. However, there are a number of them that seem to have attached themselves to the bottom of the ship, and they are continuing to try to rip at the gravity engines of the ship.
Not unreasonable action on their part.
You can see it wobbling in the air.
Governor and Northwood, stop trying to get it higher. You will risk.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
Just get us, Mendel. Just take us away from the battle and then set us down. We can deal with these little bastards.
Wait, this could be our maybe. What if I'm thinking? What if we have Mendel create a subroutine and start shoving as much information at our little diplomat as we can? If it connects with the others, maybe instead of us understanding it, maybe we can get it to understand us.
What parameters do you want me to use? I don't know how to communicate with it.
Everything you got, every raw data.
I'm moving the ship to a place where there are none of the creatures, maybe 20, 30 feet away, and I will set us down. The ship sets down, and it sets down kind of hard.
Rough.
Like at the last 2 feet, it just suddenly drops to the ground. We're probably squishing the ones that were underneath.
Good.
We're getting in over our head or slow.
It also rocks a little to the side, so the ship is not sitting perfectly flat.
Ah, these annoying little bastards.
Minsky.
I'm gonna jump on
I'm
a console.
I'm gonna go follow the group that was trying to sabotage the ship, because this is obviously a more intelligent cast. I want to see what they're going to do.
Lewis, we need you to get over here.
Yeah, I'm already getting on a console and trying to do like a damage assessment.
You begin to see. Oh,
yeah.
Go ahead.
I want to analyze that war chanting that they were doing earlier to see if there's anything variations I can try to place with the syllabary we found earlier.
they're not even sure of what's causing it, whether they
Okay.
have vocal organs or whether they're rubbing their
They're
feet
chitting
together or
their feet
something.
together. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But what you do notice is that there is a contingency of these warrior caste that have flanked off, and they are circling around and heading towards the ship.
Right. They have definitely identified you as a cause for action.
You've
Perhaps
also noticed that the secondary hive seems to have been decimated at this point, or at least close to decimating. The fighting is stopping, and they are
Do they have the
reforming their
purpose?
ranks.
Do they have any
What
survivors in the
is the
secondary
purpose?
hive?
Not that you can see. Maybe at the moment there are a few still fighting, but
Right.
they're
If
dwindling.
we if we can understand that behavior, if we can understand why they did this, maybe we can head this off there.
Well, if you're going to figure that out in the next 5 minutes it takes them to get here,
Dr. Kavener, unfortunately, because they're in a military stance, which does change how a behavior of a culture tends to react, this may not be the time for first contact. I do suggest you release the prisoner and then possibly leave the area. We're going to have to reconfigure ourselves
how is
later.
the one in the box acting?
It's kind of exhausted itself. It's still a warrior caste. It's still occasionally trying to bang at the glass, but it's not particularly facing in any direction at this point. It's just angry and trying to, and
Do we have
hissing.
enough data? Can we release it?
Well, Eliana, you said it was your job to protect us. How about you start protecting us?
How extensive is the damage to the ship?
You have no way of knowing at this point.
Okay, I'm going to try to run a diagnostic then.
Yeah.
There's definitely some circuits that are no longer functioning. It's not likely that you're going to get off the ground.
It's possible these creatures are able to manipulate matter on a microscopic scale somehow.
Is it possible that Mendel could help me synthesize some kind of compound that could offer organic building blocks of what we are? And again, I just want to have some data point of reference to trade information with these things.
Do something that you would think would what role would you like? Science and or chemistry, or
I'd go chemistry. I'd love to try ecology just for the extra 5%, but I think that'd be too far of a stretch.
They do make use of pheromones, Doctor. There might be a pheromone that suggests, "Hey guys, let's take a break."
Chemistry makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Let's do that then.
Meanwhile, Eliana is on her way back to the ship, and she's going to enter.
I get a 53 under 68.
Yeah, pheromones seem to be a key. They do seem to be controlled by these chemicals in the air. Mendel says, analyzing. I've been able to detect 4 different pheromones in the air. The one that smells like rosemary is definitely a kind of a war call.
Yes.
There is also a smell that apparently, or a pheromone that is an alarm.
Okay.
And one that is probably a confusion.
In worst case, let's hang on to that one. But the 4th, is there anything that would help us? It would help make them recognize us as them.
It seems like it might be some sort of sexual pheromone as well.
No,
that could end very badly.
Yes, it's contraindicated to use that.
What if a distilled version of that?
These are all complex hydrocarbons. It may be how they communicate.
Hey guys, unless we want to get real up close and personal with these things, we should start talking about support options, because I'm not convinced this thing's going to get off the ground again.
Oh shit! Really?
Eliana, you said you were at the ship you were going to get on?
Yeah.
All right.
And
How
first of
about
all, she
Minsky
just.
and
I'll let you go and then I'll say what happened.
Minsky and Hadley? Are you
Well,
close
actually,
enough to get on the ship?
I'm going to go if unless they attack me or threaten me, I'm going to go look at the second colony to check the way they desecrated it. I'm trying to understand through the nature of desecration and insult or whatever they've done, the kind of expression of hatred or disgust or insult or whatever they're doing, because that's a point of difference that I might be able to use to break apart the language.
Right. So Minsky, the creature, the creatures, the priest class, if you will, they seem to have taken their crystal and propped it up near the
kind of
hole
raising the
to
flag
the second group. But then you don't know whether they went inside or whether they have joined the others, because they all kind of look the same except for, you can sort of see
the outside structure of crystals. Does it look similar to the one that we saw in the first hive, except it's been changed because they desecrated?
Similar but not similar. Yeah, it's not certainly not the same shapes like another random crystal growing, but yeah, they've shattered it, or they've broken it down.
Okay, they just outright desecration that way. Okay.
Right.
I was hoping there was some equivalent of writing slogans or something like that, but they just broke it up. Okay.
That's
and there
entirely
are
feasible. That's just their behavior.
Yeah.
and there are dead ones everywhere. In fact, what it looks like is that is part of it's almost as if they're desecrating the bodies as well. They're definitely tearing up the fleshy parts of them and leaving the carapace mostly. There's probably indication that they eat part.
Okay. I was going to ask if they were going to eat it or
well.
just desecrating it for the sake of desecrating. Okay.
But you can imagine now all these shells.
Yeah.
And they're eventually going to turn into the sand.
They'll eventually break down and turn into sand.
But I mean, this kind of behavior, I mean, human tribes have behaved similarly in warfare, although usually they're more limited and they don't go total annihilation on each other.
It's about that time, Minsky, that you notice that almost without noticing it, a contingency of these creatures has started to surround you. And they've done so in a manner that made you think they weren't interested in you, but they've all kind of
they're
turned,
smart.
They've kind of turned in mass, and they're all moving towards you.
Are they in warrior form or different form?
Yeah, they're in warrior form, and they're closing the circle.
Right. They're going to attack me, unfortunately. Okay, I'll have to run away from there then.
My combat drone is there, so if you tell me, I can.
Let's not do any more death than we have to. I'll just run.
Hadley, what are you doing? Sorry, Hadley, what are you doing?
I am focused on the ship. I think once the ship took damage, my instinct that my job is focused on that took over. And so, my curiosity about the creatures is sort of like, well, it's academic, but I got to fix the ship. So I'm running diagnostics and trying to assess the damage. And
so you're actually on the ship.
I am on the ship again.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Cabrera, you are on the ship now too.
Yes.
The warrior cast has now moved towards the ship. Minsky, I'll have you do a speed roll to see if you get there before they do.
Right.
And I think you've probably all taken at least a point of stress.
Okay, so stress to 3.
Yeah.
We may have to do a hostage exchange.
Terribly fast, unfortunately.
I
Nope, they get there before me, unfortunately.
Okay. So before you get there, they cut you off.
Right.
They surround you
Mhm.
and they stay within, I'll say 10 feet of you.
All right. But they're just stopping and saying, hey, we got you.
They're stopping and they're hissing and they're waving their little mandibles at you.
Okay.
See, that probably adds a stress to you.
Sure.
Again. The rest of you guys are closed up inside the ship. You then begin to hear the sound of little feet clanking on the outside of the ship, and Some of them are climbing up onto it, and possibly on top of it as well.
Hey, we can't let them do any more damage to this ship.
No,
Like,
or there'll be no research grants at all.
we've got to get them off the outside.
Mendel,
Yeah, but just send a signal to Port Nineveh. Have them send somebody out here to get us.
Yeah, I send a distress because I'll have a signal, SOS signal.
Well, you can send it to Mendel.
Mendel, if you can continue analyzing the various enzymes and options we have to communicate with them. The one that you mentioned that may cause confusion in them, is there a way that we can produce that using synthesizers aboard?
I believe that it's possible. It might take 45 minutes in order to synthesize the proper the proper chemical signature.
If you had a live specimen or if you had the components of a specimen to utilize in that would that speed up your process?
It's possible that the specimen that you have is able to produce all of the various chemical components, but probably not in a great amount. It's definitely possible. We don't exactly know how they're doing it. They may be manufacturing the pheromone in their bodies only under the right conditions.
Okay, begin synthesizing. And in the meantime, we need other solutions. Give
them a taste of your combat drone, Eliana.
The problem is if they are on the ship, we risk doing more damage to the ship. And
can we ionize the hull of the ship or something like that to give them a shock?
Do you have jury rigging or maintenance to roll?
I do not have jury rigging, but I do have computers, industrial equipment, and mechanical repair.
Okay, yeah, roll that. You should be able to.
How about mechanical repair?
Sure. Whichever one of those you think works.
So, Mother, have any of the ones that have surrounded me, are they all warriors, or can I find someone who's organizing them who looks a bit different?
You don't
got a
see
success.
anything but warriors. All right, Hadley, you find a way where you can sort of energize the outer shell of the ship. It should be the equivalent of like electrifying or electrocuting.
Yeah. Hey guys, I'm gonna give them a zap to get them off the outside of the ship.
Please do.
Yes,
please do. If it's possible, is there a way you could sustain that or do it in pulses? If you can buy me enough time, we might be able to come up with a chemical solution for it, but it's gonna need time.
Okay, I'll see what I can do. It might drain the battery, or the power plant, whatever we have.
Yeah, just give them a zap. Just give them a taste of what we're capable of.
Right.
Northwood, I must have some liking of you to keep putting up with the shit.
Everybody pull your hands and feet in. Don't touch anything metal.
All right, Hadley, you set the 4-second timer and the pulse goes off. You hear the ship sort of hiss or zap for just a second, and from looking out the windows, you see a little rain of these creatures fall off the ship. Like they've been electrocuted and they fall off. Minsk, as you're standing outside, they're beginning to approach you menacingly when you hear this zap sort of sound coming from the ship. You look over and you see that a bunch of them that were on the ship are falling off.
Minsk.
And all of the ones that are around you suddenly turn towards the ship and ignoring you, they suddenly go into a state of surrounding the ship.
Okay, they're going to prepare for another wave, it looks like.
Yeah, the ones surrounding the ship, as long as they're not near the ship, I'm going to use my combat drone to start shooting them once. Because they're not on the ship now.
If they're a colony creature, they probably, although they're intelligent as an entity, as a collective entity, they probably don't have any care about sacrificing individual selves.
Oh, so now we're all like they're not individualistic.
Well, no, but the point is
we've
provoked them into this situation, Doctor.
And
everything that we're experiencing right now.
I'm sorry, if you're going to blame anybody, blame Kavner for snapping that crystal off, all right?
Hey, we had no idea what that meant.
I'm not going to blame Kavner. That's just, no one could have predicted that.
Did you want me to roll like a combat roll, even though it's for my drone? Did you want me to?
Sure. We'll see how you do.
It's a success. It's 39, so it's a success.
Okay.
So I'm going
to describe to me what your combat drone does.
Because I can remote control it if I want to. It just circles and starts shooting around. It has shot. We'll say plasma. We'll say
little plasma pulses.
Yeah, little plasma pulses.
All right. You succeeded. Okay, so your little combat drone starts flying around and starts firing at these creatures. When it hits one directly, either in the head or on the carapace on the back, it pretty much fries it because it's plasma. The others around it react and don't react. They react by kind of changing positions that they're in because there's something burning next to them, but they don't let up on their attack of the ship, which they now in full force begin to rip at the metal of the ship itself with their sharp little sapphire
Listen, Northwood, we know you and I both know you screwed up on that spider mission. That was all your mistake, and I kept my silence so far. But God damn it, Lorenzo died in that doing.
Mother, I'm going to see if I can see any of the golden ones observing from some safe distance. There's got to be somebody who's coordinating this.
Who's Mother?
Oh, sorry. GM. Mendel, yes. I'm looking to see if there's
you do not. As far you can see gold, but it's all dead carapaces.
Although they've killed their leadership. Shoot.
I think everybody needs to roll 1d4 for stress. These things are scraping the outside of the ship. Eliana, you are managing to kill some, but there are at this point thousands of them.
With the live specimen we have, I just want to see if it reacts to either a chem light or flame.
Well, it would definitely react to flame. Fire is fire.
Wait, you're torturing it.
This is war, Kavner.
And Kavner, this is to just see, because I have an idea, but to basically create a ring of fire.
Get on it, Eliana. Get these things off of us.
Is there a service hatch at the top of the...
If we can synthesize this pheromone, we can have a peaceful response to this.
We need to buy us enough time to synthesize the pheromone, Kavner.
Do we have a fuel source that I can light on fire that I can take up and... I'm going to need a hand. Hadley, could you help me? We're going to stand on top.
I don't think it would be a fuel source because you don't have a liquid fuel. But is there something on board the ship that's flammable? Probably have alcohol, because you guys get sloshed every evening. Or I'm joking.
That explains.
Probably have it because your medical stuff and your
just something flammable that we can spread around.
I'll have him find something. Yeah.
and then we can set it on fire.
I'm going to walk to one of the other colonies that wasn't involved in the fight and see if they have any observers watching what's going on.
Oh,
Hey,
nice. Great.
Minsky, how about you snap off one of the crystals of the other colony and get them to fight off this colony?
I think that's not a good idea.
I think that's an excellent idea.
I think
No, don't listen.
your ideas have not convinced, your activities have not convinced me that your ideas are very good, Doctor. I'm sorry.
Minsky, do not listen to Dr. Norford, please.
I'm looking for a third party to negotiate with us.
Yeah.
Minsky. So you walk the distance to where the next colony should be.
Mhm.
And as you get there, you suddenly become aware that the light around you has changed. You realize that midday is past quite a while ago, and you're approaching sunset.
Just like that.
Well, not just like that. It's been hours that this has been going on. And as you are approaching, it's the same as the others. There's the blue crystals, there's the hole, but as the sun is lower in the sky, you begin to see a number of these creatures coming out of the hole. They aren't warriors. In fact, they're way more docile looking than the ones that you've seen so far. In this case, you're almost going to guess that they are worker class.
Oh.
And maybe they don't come out during the day normally. In this case, they're beginning to wake up, if you will, and they seem to almost be looking around, making sure the coast is clear. But as you walk up towards them, they definitely, a few of them look in your direction with their multiple eyes, but they don't pay much attention to you. You probably look just as alien to them as they do to you.
Right.
But they don't perceive you as a threat.
Well, I'll watch how they communicate with each other to organize their marine activities, and I'll check for pheromones as well as other methods of communication. And if I can find something that says, "Hi, what do you want me to do?" or some equivalent thing, I might try to work with that. But I got to see how they're coordinating.
There's definitely some chemicals going on in the air. Probably more or less, associated with a preparation for like going out and hunting for food. It's different than the other smells.
Is there anything
one of these creatures seems to become a bit curious about you and starts to move closer.
Okay.
When it gets within 5 feet of you,
they have lots of little limbs, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll use my fingers sort of in the same kind of form that their rings are, their limbs are found. And I'll try kind of almost a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 kind of gesture and see if I can get them to imitate what I'm doing.
I'd like you to, so what do we have in here for? We don't really have the luck, do we?
No. I'm trying to establish a communication protocol. I think that might be self-ontology.
Well, do a self-ontology roll.
Okay. Yeah, roll better than I did last time. 31. Yes, I succeeded, although not a critical.
The creature doesn't seem to be startled by you. It moves a little closer. It's definitely got its front feelers wiggling in the air. You can see that they are, at first you see them as sort of like simple antennae that are wiggling, and it continues to move towards you cautiously, but it doesn't seem to be startled by you.
Okay.
You are, of course, a giant by
Yeah,
comparison. You're wiggling your fingers. What else do you do?
Well, I'm going to try to do like, I'm trying to remember what they actually talk about for trying to establish contact. I'm going to try to do simple number things. I mean, how many limbs did this guy have? Like 20 or something?
20 or
Quite a
30.
few
You
legs,
haven't really
yeah.
counted
Okay.
yet. Yeah.
Well, I'll try matching symmetry at first, and then I'll try stuff that looks like simple addition if I can get that going.
Do you
Something-
remain standing or?
I'll try to get closer to the level of the creature, and I'll show it I'm coming down to its level because it's smaller than me, right? And present myself as trying
A lot
to
smaller.
to kind of get to its position.
It approaches you not unlike a dog or a cat that's not afraid. It's closer, and as you're doing this, you're getting right where it can see what you're doing with your fingers. You see that these little antennae that it have, the ends of them suddenly become fluffy, like little yellow feathers, and it moves forward, and it sort of wants to touch your fingers with these things.
All right.
So it's running its fingers over your hands, and then it snaps back, and it turns around quickly, and it runs back towards its hive.
Oh no. Is there any of the pheromone that's kind of like this is bad, war, alarm, any of that stuff?
You notice the pheromone that you smelled before, or that you identified as alarm.
Okay, I'm going to wait and see if one of the golden ones comes up. But if it's not a war call yet, it's just alarm, right?
Yeah, it's just an alarm.
Okay, I'll wait and see what comes up next.
These in particular have, once again, a slightly different color variation than the other two groups. Meanwhile, back at the ship.
I forgot about you guys, sorry.
The ship are now kind of the creatures which remain unnamed, but you get to name them at some point. They are now definitely damaging the ship. You get a call from the central hub, not from Nineveh, not from Port Nineveh, but from the central hub, your scientific group. We've received your message. We will send a rescue team. However, you're quite a ways out there. We're not sure how long it'll be, 20, 30 minutes before anybody arrives. Are you in danger?
Yes.
It might be. The Cavnites outside are tearing the ship apart.
So, I mean, burn them off the ship, Eliana. Burn them. What did you call them?
Cavnites. He's named them.
No. It's
They're what I was doing. By now, me and Hadley, we should have set a ring of fire. Hopefully.
Okay, so we'll get to that. You've climbed out the top service entrance. You can hear that now that you're outside. You can hear that these creatures have taken up a kind of droning noise. It almost sounds like a religious chant. That they are chanting together, war cries, and you pour the liquid around and light it on fire. So now you've got a ring of fire around your ship, and some of the creatures were caught with the splashes, so they catch on fire. What they do when they catch on fire is they try to bury themselves in the sand a little bit to put the fire out. But they've all backed a couple of feet away from the ship now because you're on fire. They begin to circle the ship.
Don't let up with that combat drone. Thin their numbers. then they're
Yeah, super.
numbers.
And I can't, now I'm on top, I could start shooting them myself with my rifle.
Don't you have like a flamethrower or something fancy like that?
Grenades.
I have grenades, I have my plasma rifle, I have a spare plasma rifle, I have a revolver, I have a shotgun. I don't have a flamethrower, though, I'm afraid.
Thank
Central
God.
hub.
Hit him with
Don't
the
bring a flamethrower on a
hit them with some grenades.
I will throw some grenades. Obviously, my combat drone is programmed to now just circle and shoot. So
Central hub, stand by for uploading preliminary research on the Cavanites.
Is this Dr. Kavner?
It is, yes.
Hey, Doc, it's Bob. How you doing?
Bob, how's it going?
Not the small talk.
It's not great, Bob. It's not great.
Send us your research.
Yeah.
We'll have somebody out to you as soon as we can.
Perfect. Yes, we're trying to develop some pheromones on site to try to control these things, but if you could begin similar processes in the central hub.
Well, I mean, you should know that whatever you might contribute will be appreciated by generations to come.
Perfect.
He also is like, oh, what's that noise? What's going on? Are you using explosives?
as I throw a grenade,
Meanwhile,
Definitely,
Minsky,
maybe.
Meanwhile, Minsky, you are over near the other hive.
Mhm.
The one has gone inside, and almost immediately, a number of others come outside. Still not the warrior cast,
Oh, good. So far, so
but
good.
they have the little feather dusters on their antenna
okay.
out, and they seem agitated, and they are moving towards you cautiously.
Yeah, okay. I'll move very
Um,
slowly and gently, and I'll just wave my fingers very gently, suggestively what they're doing.
It's then that in the distance you hear ba-boom, 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 and you can feel the ground shake a little bit under your feet when it happens.
Sigh.
And then after after you hear the booms and the vibration stops, then the vibration starts up again. Something underneath your feet once again is vibrating.
Mhm.
These creatures come towards you, and what? How are you? Are you going to stand there? Are you going to squat down again?
Do they have, is there an obvious sort of leader coming forth from their group?
Not particularly.
Okay, then I'll just sort of present myself as being open to anyone who wants to come forward. And since they want to touch my hands, I'll sort of present them, but not forcibly, but just here, you can touch these if you want.
Okay. You realize that, I mean, it seems kind of obvious now they're smelling you,
Mm-hmm.
and you were in a war zone. So they seem to be alarmed
Okay,
as they are smelling you.
can I try to get some of that smell from the workers and sort of spread that out a bit?
Well, they won't let you touch them.
Okay. All right.
They'll touch you, but they back away if you try to touch them.
Okay. I'll try to wash some of the stuff off me, like just the war smells if I can. Then I just smell like nothing. I smell like an android. I don't know what they're going to come up with.
Right. Yeah, normally you would smell like nothing.
Yeah. I'll also try to see if I can use the glyphs that we found earlier and just show glyphs to see if there's any recognition of stuff.
They don't seem to have any recognition at all.
Shoot. Okay.
But bit by bit, more of them start coming out. None of the warrior cast, although these could transform.
We know that. Yes, I don't want to trigger them.
But they seem curious about you at first. Then some other bugs come up that are not quite like these, but they're close, and you recognize that they might be, in fact, the religious caste.
Okay.
Or at least their equivalent of them coming out. They all seem very curious to smell you. And then, almost in unison, they move away from you.
Okay.
And you begin to smell very strongly the alarm smell.
But is it the worst smell or just the alarm smell?
It's the alarm pheromone. Yeah.
I wonder if because I had the worst smell from the other guys, they're thinking that war smells come. Yeah, maybe they're getting triggered by those guys.
They might also be able to identify what tribe that smell comes from.
Right.
Because now they seem alarmed. You won't be surprised if they start swarming out too, at least to protect their own territory.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, I'm not going to fault them that.
So in fact, within a few moments, more and more of them start to come out to the point where you have to back away.
Yeah, I'll give them space.
And you heard the explosions coming from the direction of the ship. All right. You guys are on the ship. I'd say your stress, you can raise your stress once again. You don't have an infinite amount of burnable alcohol. You mostly had enough to clean your hands and sterilize some equipment. You are still shooting at them with your plasma thing, but
how long
you're
remaining
not killing very many.
How long remaining till we get the pheromones processed?
It's still ways away. Do another chemical roll.
Obviously, I'm throwing grenades. I've given Hadley one of the plasma rifles as well.
64 out of 68.
Mendel says, we should within the next 5 minutes have a working pheromone, synthetic pheromone. Of course, we have no idea whether it was actually going to work or not. I'd suggest testing it on the specimen we have.
Hit the specimen we have with it. See what we got.
All right, so 10 minutes go by. You're definitely sure that the creatures are about to breach the ship itself. They've been working at it, pulling on pieces of metal and wearing it down. I think your stress goes up another stress level.
Hadley, Cabrera, pull back. We're near a solution.
Okay, as I throw one final grenade and dip back down the hole. Quick,
your last grenade. We'll say your last.
I'm glad to hear that because they're getting close to getting in here.
My drone's still out there, but it probably is out by now. It doesn't have an infinite amount of ammo.
And the sun's going down. So the sun is close to the horizon. You succeeded in your chemistry. So Mendel says we have synthesized the hydrocarbon. It's being deposited in a decanter on Science Station 5. So you've got a bottle of this pheromone.
Yeah, keep producing.
I'll continue to produce. So you go over to the specimen, which is still, it's exhausted, but it is still clacking at the glass. You open it up and you spray a little bit in the little spray bottle. You spray a little bit in there, and it suddenly transforms back into its original form that you saw. It doesn't seem happy that it's in the thing, but it is no longer warrior cast. You also notice that its little antennas come out, and it's touching the glass where the chemical probably landed, and it seems to be calming itself down.
This could be
Start spraying this on the ones tearing into the ship.
Well, we're not getting out of here with the ship, so I think we spray us and try to walk through them.
Yeah.
What do they do?
You said something, Thom? I couldn't hear you.
I said, what do you want to do?
We don't have enough to hit all of them with it, but if we spray us, maybe we can walk through them. Maybe they won't recognize, though. They see the ship as the enemy. we leave their friend here behind, and the four of us
Okay,
walk out.
do you volunteer to be first?
I will go first.
Can we spray the ship?
Okay, we'll spritz
Hold on.
Eliana.
As I do have I can shoot them at least.
Okay, Eliana. They spray you with it, mostly around your legs, so that it's near the ground where they are. You open up the door, and as the door comes out, they get out of the way of the door. So they're smart enough to get out of the way. The door comes down, and you step down on it. They are definitely going to rush at it in order to attack. As far as they're concerned, they've succeeded in opening up the 10 monster. But as they run up to where you are, some of them attempt to get a hold of you with their claws, but you also notice their little feelers come out and the little feather dusters, and suddenly they back away from you and they go into their original form.
Okay, Ursula, stand still. I'm giving you a spray.
A few of them probably get past you, Eliana, and go into the ship, but the spray itself seems to neutralize their terror or anger. And although they continue to move some of them into the ship and attack it, the ones that are exposed to you immediately begin to revert back into less aggressive mode. They definitely start touching you where they can with their feelers, smelling that smell, and they begin to defuse. Their ranks begin to undo as they're passing the pheromone from one to the other around the tribe. Within a few minutes, they've all neutralized themselves. And even the ones that got on the ship are now neutralized. You guys are safe, and they've begun to cluster around for a few minutes, not understanding what is going on, a bit of confusion. And then one by one on the edges, they start heading back towards their original hole. Meanwhile, Minsky, you have a whole bunch of these that have come out of their hole, and they're definitely alarmed. A few minutes go by, and a number of them start turning into warrior caste.
Oh, this is
and
not
they
good.
all seem to be facing towards the original hole.
Oh, crap. Oh, great. Well, I violated my own precepts. I've started another war here. I should probably self-destruct or something.
So what do you do? Are you going back to the ship?
I don't know what's going on with the ship. I'll try to contact it. What's going on?
Minsky, you're there?
Yeah,
we are leaving the ship on foot to transverse the desert to a safer site.
We don't need to leave the ship.
The ship's
dispersed.
destroyed. Yeah.
Right, but they're going to come rescue us at the ship. There's no need to leave it.
How did you resolve the situation?
We sprayed him with pheromones.
Oh, great. What kind of pheromones?
Calming pheromones.
Do you have a bunch of that still available?
We don't know if it's going to work for all of them. We know it worked for this one specific group, but if they're like ants colonies have distinctive...
Okay, I'm extremely worried there might be another battle about to start. I'm going to book it over there if I can.
Okay. You run.
Okay.
You leave the army, the developing army behind you.
All right. And I'm going to say, God, this is probably not going to work. So you guys doused yourself with this stuff and it worked?
Mm-hmm.
Seems to have.
Yeah.
Okay.
Minsky, as you are running towards your ship, you do start to encounter the original army All of them are de-warriored.
I'm going to avoid
They are
getting
moving
close to
back
them.
towards-
I don't want to get the chemicals on them again. I'm going to avoid them as much as possible.
They're definitely moving towards their
Yep.
original hive.
Okay, and I'm going to get you guys to douse me with that and if you can, give me some chemicals. I got to go back that way before World War III starts.
Well, if you think about it, Minsky, you could just be, if each colony has its own unique pheromones, you could actually just be preventing the one colony from defending itself against the other colony.
I'm trying to diffuse an ongoing fight because I think they're going to attack these guys because of the smells.
I think that process is already underway.
Yeah, I know, but I'm going to try. I'm going to take the pheromone with me, and maybe I'll get eaten. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to try to take the. I don't want any more battles to happen here.
I'm theorizing to some extent that these battles are part of their existence. Is that
but we created this situation. This isn't natural to them. We need to diffuse it. It should only happen when they make it happen, not because of us.
Yeah, I suppose. Can we? We still can't be sure that they didn't do it independently of.
Anyways, I got no time for love, Dr. Jones. I'm going to head back with the peaceful pheromones and see if it can help. Maybe it's
by the time you get to the ship, you detect in the distance, maybe a mile or so away, the Novolite research group ship that's approaching. It should be there within a minute or two.
Perfect. And we still have our original sample. Using the pheromones on it, calmed it down.
Our original sample.
Minsky, do you want to stop and join the ship, or do you want to?
I want to go see if I can prevent this from any more fighting taking place.
Okay. So Minsky, what you find is actually what Dr. Northwood was a bit afraid of.
Oh shit.
If you spray the pheromone on hive number 1, they won't transform into warrior caste.
Right.
Hive number 3, as they are approaching, they go into warrior mode, and they begin the slaughter, and hive 1 is not fighting back. Except the ones that you don't manage to spray.
So this pheromone won't do anything to them. They'll just stay warriors.
Correct. And so a secondary war begins to break out.
Right.
It's more like a slaughter in this case.
Yeah. Because
they're not defending themselves. And they also lost some of their numbers.
Minsky, if you're satisfied that we've seen all there is to see here, rescue seems imminent. If you don't mind, could you please procure a few more crystals from the aperture before we leave? We might as well not leave empty-handed.
Yeah, I mean, you've already systematically destroyed their capacity to defend themselves. They will be wiped out. So who cares if we take their crystals?
Get the crystals before the other tribe destroys them.
Right. I think not. I'm just going to come back to
if you're not going to collect crits, okay. Because Minsky is not participating in the interests of science, I'll go to the hive that they all just left to go fight their war, and I'll take their crystals while they're gone.
No, Northwood.
I am in charge. The scientists are in charge. We've established this.
Yes, but this is a war.
I have actually created more damage than was necessary. We don't need to do any more than that, or this will just propagate.
I am taking the crystals.
You're going for Hive 3 crystals. I'm saying we just get the rest of Hive 1 crystals.
I know, but Minsky's the one at Hive 1, and Minsky, the android who's not listening to us.
They're really supposed to listen to us. There's not much purpose for an android that doesn't listen to us.
I have extended ethical programming, which is now getting very confused.
Let's wrap the story up then with some prologues.
Epilogues.
Epilogue, sorry. Yeah, some epilogue.
This was just the prologue.
Perhaps.
Yeah, now the game starts.
Oh yeah, great.
So the idea was, and I'll give you the choices. Well, I'll give you the choices first, telling you what. Let's see. Wait, let's do the epilogue. So the epilogue is after a great deal of study. You manage not to decipher the language, but you do manage to understand that this was a religious war, that they seem to have some primitive religion based on those crystals. Maybe at some point they were a civilization that was able to create the crystals. At this point, they're a more primitive, devolved version that only knows war and conquest. Under normal circumstances, if they will go for quite a long time without any conflicts. Their hives are spaced symmetrically and equidistant from one another. But if a violation occurs, especially a desecration of their religious texts, if you will, then they're going to blame one of the other tribes and start a war.
Yep.
And that's basically what happened here.
Yep.
Is you started a religious war. And these wars have gone on for eons. The plains are strewn with the dead, and they continue to go on and on. What they consume and eat and what they do and how they survive, we don't know. That's left up to the imagination. Nobody died. I did intend for them to knock your ship out of the air and eventually for you to get trapped inside and to have your stress keep going up and up and up until they ate their way inside. But you came up with some clever ways to control them. All right, so on the procedural chart, my first roll was 46, which is a holy site. 65 was my second one, which was it's actually irrational computer behavior. I did think that maybe they would get into your systems and start screwing with them, but it didn't happen. Then I got 11, which is an elder evil returned. And I kind of thought that maybe they would start to assume that your ship and you were the great elder evil that has returned to bring
They're not wrong.
war to their world.
Not far off, at least.
Then I rolled 12, which is vaccine or pheromone. 33, which is they await the next transgression. And then 64 was fire, ashes, and war. So
that's where we're headed.
Well, that's what happened.
Yep.
It also reminded me a great deal, if you haven't seen it, the Sand Kings.
Yeah, I know the Sand Kings. That's a nasty one.
Yeah.
And that's what I thought. I was wondering if Northwood was going to go in that direction, become like the face on their monuments of the great evil or something.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was it. Any questions? Any comments?
Hey, Cabrera survived, but it's not a male.
Female
It's a
Cabrera.
female Cabrera.
Female Cabreras are allowed to
difference.
survive.
And I can imagine Cabrera and Northwood being like a TV show.
I was kind of hoping that one of you would get torn to shreds and eaten alive. Just leave your skeleton out there, but you guys managed to get around it. Our players included Morgan Llewellyn, Josh Harwood, Stefan Amshe, Mike McKen, and Troy Lehman, with yours truly as the game warden. We have a Discord server where you can chat with other members, you can set up private games, and you can learn the finer arts of gameplay and game mastery. We provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Spotify, Podbean, or iTunes. Support for the show is provided by our patrons who are listed in the closing credits. If you'd like to show us your appreciation, please visit our Patreon page, or you can use the thanks button just below the screen. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and punch the bell icon for updates on our latest shows. And leave us some comments. We enjoy reading them and answer any questions you might have. This is Thom Raley, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the strange and sometimes terrifying universe of the Mothership role-playing game. Until next time, good luck and good gaming.